Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day, guys. We have some news regarding upcoming rebalances for two champions, and I think a lot of people been waiting for one of them, and the other one was a little bit surprising to me, but definitely deserved the rebalance as well. Now, the first one I want to talk about is Harvest Jack. Now, he has been in the game since forever, but also in the vault since forever, right? So now he's getting some love, so let's see what this is about. Now, Harvest Jack is from the Undead Hordes, Spirit Affinity Champion, HP based, and he's actually a pretty cool looking champion. Let's actually take a look real quick before we take a look at the kit or the rebalance. Yeah, he has this amazing design where he has all the heads from the starter champions. So you have Galek here, Kale, you have Elhain and Aethel. So very interesting design. And I think he was one of the Halloween champions back then, like years ago. Not quite sure which year exactly, but yeah, he's been in the game since forever. Now, let's talk about the rebalance. So the A1 will now attack one enemy 3 times, and each hit has a 50% chance of stealing one random buff from the target instead of 25% chance. Okay, so that's pretty good. So very, very high chance on a triple hit. Each hit also has a 50% chance of placing a fear debuff for one turn. Very, very nice. This chance increases to 100% if the target has no active buffs. Wow. Okay, so that's pretty cool. The first thing that pops up into my mind is Chimera, right? The ram form. Maybe this is the new fear guy for Chimera. If you give him Nature's Bounty, he has a chance to convert that fear into true fear, and he's also hitting 3 times. The ram form doesn't have buffs at all, so this chance increases to 100%, right? So with every hit, you have a chance to place true fear. The dual bar thing might be a buff. I'm not quite sure. So that might reduce the chance to 50%, but still, very good A1 for the ram form. Let's take a look at the A2. So a lot less text. That is obviously already good. Attacks all enemies, removes all buffs from each target, then places a 50% decrease attack debuff and block buffs. Okay, so it's not conditional anymore. You straight up, remove all buffs, then you place the debuffs. It's not conditional anymore like you see here. Before it was like replacing increased attack with decreased attack and placing block buffs when the target has fear and blah blah blah, right? So now no conditions anymore, which is good. No ifs, right? And yeah, this is definitely much better. But it's getting even better. Then grants an extra turn. Okay, that's so cool. That's so cool. He can place those debuffs, remove buffs, place debuffs, and then get an extra turn, and then you can use the A3, for example. So let's take a look. Another AoE attack has a 75% chance, probably 100% chance if booked, of placing a true fear debuff for 2 turns. So there you go. You even have a true fear built in. Also places a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns and decreases each target's turn meter by 30% if the true fear debuff is placed. So wow, another debuff. We got decreased attack, block buffs, decrease speed, and true fear / fear, right? So far, which is very good. That's like 4 debuffs, that are very important for Chimera. So I can definitely see him being very useful there. So far, like for free-to-play players, we only have like Lydia, right? That is very consistent with the fears and so on. And he kind of, fits in the same bracket now for a fear champion. He's just providing different stuff like decreased attack and block buffs, and I think this will open up more comps, more teams that will be able to get the 25 mats, which is pretty good. Now, before the rebalance, this A3 was only placing a true fear for 1 turn. The condition on the decreased speed and the true fear is still the same. So you only place a decreased speed if the debuff is placed, which is not quite ideal because that means you cannot place a decreased speed on any other form on the Chimera, for example. But still, I think in general for like Faction Wars hard wave content and stuff like that, this is still very solid. But yeah, there's more to this skill. So The rebalanced version has a 75% chance, probably 100% chance when booked, of placing an unresistible sleep debuff for 1 turn if the True Fear debuff is not placed. Also decreases each target's turn meter by 30%. Both of these skills can probably be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown, right? And yeah, so very interesting. Unresistible sleep, that could be nice for Sand Devil, right? That he could be another sleep champion for Sand Devil. We have Sify with the unresistible sleep. Now he has it too. And you can't place a True Fear, so he will place that unresistible sleep, which is pretty good. He's Spirit Affinity, so strong affinity for the highest stage, stage 25, which is Force. That is something where I see this skill being very useful. But other than that, I really feel like this decreased speed on A3 shouldn't be conditional if the True Fear debuff is placed. But still, even when it's conditional, I can still see him being useful in Chimera. Now, let's take a look at the passive. Whenever an ally is attacked, has a 50% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1 turn. Whenever this champion is attacked, the chance increases to 100%. This champion is immune to fear debuffs. Alright, so before it was when attacked decreases the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1 turn. Now you will decrease the duration of all buffs as well when your allies get attacked and he's on the same team, right? So that is pretty interesting. Also immune to fear debuffs. I don't know where this would be good, but yeah, okay. And he gets an aura. He didn't have an aura. Increases ally accuracy in all battles by 70. So yeah, I don't know. I've been expecting much more for Harvest Jack. I was hoping he would be a little bit more on the multi-hit AoE stuff, and you know, it's solid. It's a solid rebalance. I can see him being useful in Chimera and like for wave content, for Faction Wars Hard, and you know, he could be a Sand Devil sleep champion. That's all right, but I don't see like crazy value in this guy. I don't think he's like insanely good now. I think he's okay. So yeah, that's the Harvest Jack rebalance. Now let's take a look at Lugan the Steadfast. Man, this champion was already bad back then, and let's see if this changes now. So Lugan is a Spirit Affinity champion as well from the Bannerlords faction though, also HP type. And let's take a look at the A1. So attacks one enemy, heals all allies by 25% of the damage inflicted, has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. When counterattacking, will also ignore 20% of the target's defense. Damage multiplier increased. Okay, so they're trying to make him a nuker now. Alright. Let's see if that works out. The A2 places a 60% increased defense buff, a 50% ally protection buff, and a shield buff equal to 30% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns. Wow, that is pretty good. 3 buffs, increased defense, ally protection, and shield. And the good thing about this is the shield is based on his max HP, so you can somewhat control the amount of shield you get. And also, he's buffing increased defense, which is a perfect synergy for Titus, okay? Increased defense, shield, that's pretty good for Faction Wars Hard. You know, you have some way to sustain a shield and make Titus smack. Before that, he wasn't even placing a shield, it was just the increased defense and ally protection. Increased defense for 3 turns for some reason, and ally protection for 2 turns, but now everything is placed for 2 turns. Alright. Probably a 3-turn cooldown if booked. Now the A3 attacks all enemies, has an 80% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 2 turns. Okay, also has an 80% chance of placing block active skills debuff for 2 turns. Will ignore 25% of each target's defense if this champion is under a shield buff. Alright, so damage multiplier increased as well. Decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs is pretty good, and the reason why is that you cannot protect your buffs against that with Lightning Cage, for example. So that might be interesting for Arena in some cases, but you know, with Mercurial, he doesn't really have any multi-hits, so it's not that great. It seems like this rebalance comes like 1-2 years too late. But yeah, it's okay, I guess. But yeah, he will also ignore 25% defense on this skill if he's under a shield buff. So synergy with shield is pretty good. Seems like he's a solid HP nuker for like PvE stuff, maybe. I don't see him being very good in PvP, like I said, without multi-hitters. You definitely want to use champions that have like triple hits, double hits, and so on to get rid of the mercurial stacks, or champions that attack out of their turns, right? But yeah, his damage is increased on the A1 and on the A3, and he's placing one more buff. So pretty good. And he has the blocked active skills, which is also very solid on Faction Wars, right? So I think I'm going to use him in Faction Wars hard and pair him with Titus. Bannerlords is one of my factions that I'm struggling with a little bit. And I think he will be the perfect addition to the team. So yeah, I will definitely try him out there. His passive, he didn't actually have a passive before. So whenever an enemy attacks an ally under a shield buff, counterattacks with this champion's default skill. Never mind. So he has a counterattack, okay? So maybe he will be solid, okay? But I don't know. It really comes down to how much damage he can do. But this is definitely good that he counterattacks with his default skill. The damage inflicted by this champion increases by 10% for each active buff on allies placed by this champion. Alright, so if he places the increased defense, ally protection, and shield, that's 3 buffs. Let's say in Faction Wars Hard, you have 12 buffs placed by him on allies, right? Pretty good. That means, you know, you will get 10%, 120% more damage. That's a lot. That's really a lot, and he might be a really solid HP nuker now for the Bannerlords. But I don't know in this current meta if he would, you know, perform well, even though the counterattack on his passive seems very solid. And he's ignoring additional defense on the A1 and A3. So yeah, I think this could be a good one. I somehow like this rebalance more than the one on Harvest Jack. Yeah, but it really comes down to how much damage he can do, right, in the end. But I think, you know, just from reading all the rebalance stuff and the skills on paper, that looks a little bit more promising than the one on Harvest Jack. So yeah, guys, that's been pretty much it. These are the rebalances that are coming up. For one, we have Lugan. He's also a very old champion, pretty much an OG. And yeah, he's, you know, just completely powercraft. Was always that, you know, more on the lower tier legendary champions. But it seems like now with this rebalance, he will definitely move up some tiers. And Harvest Jack as well. But I was really hoping for a better rebalance for Harvest Jack. And the reason why, let me actually show you guys, is that, you know, I have a few copies of Harvest Jack. I was actually so lucky to pull him 5 times, right? That, I mean, you know, I was expecting a little bit more, hoping for a little bit more to, you know, take my +4 Harvest Jack and do some crazy stuff. But I don't know if that's going to happen now. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. It really goes a long way. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more raid content. The YouTube algorithm's going to suggest you a video that you might like right here. And see you in the next one.